too fast.
I'd like to call the Tuesday, March 5th meeting of the St. Joseph County Board of Commissioners to order. Please stand for the pledge and remain standing for a brief prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, you are our creator and sustainer. You are our light and fortress. You are our wisdom and strength. We ask for your guiding hand to lead us through this meeting to do your will. May we approach our task with wisdom, and may we approach our relationships with respect. May our conduct create an environment of cooperation and kindness. Thank you for helping us to our work this day. We ask these things in your powerful name. Amen.
All right, first item on the agenda, opening and reading of bids. The Health Department, vehicle bids.
Good morning. Amy Rupie, Finance Manager for the Department of Health, office on the 8th floor of this building. We have successfully received 6 bids for the vehicle leasing. The bids are from Enterprise Holdings, Acme Auto Leasing, Vehicle Leasing Associates, Jordan Automotive Group, and 2 more that weren't labeled, so I'm going to open those right now. Gates Chevy World.
Oh, okay.
That is not actually a bid, didn't say what it was. So we received 5 bids for the vehicle leasing. Have any proposals been submitted that were not read aloud? Seeing none, the Department of Health requests these proposals be turned over for further review and recommendation at a later date.
Any questions or comments? Is there a motion?
Motion to turn it over so they can assess it for the vehicle bids.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Amy,
Thank
for
you.
your
Good job,
continued patience in
Yes.
this process.
Thank you.
Move on to reports and requests. First is the Board of Commissioners. First item is the accounts payable docket. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next up, Employee of the Month. Commissioner Fleming.
Employee of the Month for January. Be it known that this 5th day of March 2019, the Board of Commissioners of St. Joseph County, Indiana, in the city of South Bend, hereby confer this award upon Brian Davidson. In recognition of his dedication, hard work, and tireless energy in maintaining the county's government buildings. I mean, I know that he's on call for 24/7. When anything in the evening, he gets emergency calls, he comes and fixes it. He's been helping a lot with our energy savings program. When we had the polar vortex, he's worked hard to keep the building warm. He's worked hard keeping employees safe from eliminating the ice around the sidewalks. He's working on updating the building with getting areas painted and with working on to get the elevators updated and replaced. He's also helping a lot with finally updating the JJC. So I just am so thankful that he's doing all his hard work, and I certainly appreciate everything that he's doing. So again, I want to applaud. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. Would you like to come up and get this here? And does anybody have any other comments they'd like to make?
Brian certainly is a hard worker, and I'm glad he was promoted from within because he watched Embrickson and learned from him and Bob Hiddle how some of this weird old equipment is held together by
This is
duct
for
tape
you.
and coat hangers,
And this is
you know.
and picture.
And it's buildings plural, you know. It's not just this one.
Right.
Feel free to double check with the sheriff if he needs anything in the jail while he's here. If you get a chance, Brian, thank you.
I'd also like to, Brian has just been a fantastic employee his entire career here at St. Joseph County. It's amazing what we're able to do, what we're able to maintain. I mean, some of the equipment is original to this building that Brian is able to keep running. I know during the polar vortex, he and I were on the phone at least a dozen times over a 2-day period. And every time he was here in the County City building making sure that things were up and running and that we were able to have as minimal impact as we did. So Brian just does a fantastic job. We can't thank him enough for everything that he does for us and for the citizens of St. Joseph County as well. So, thanks,
yeah.
Brian.
Thank you very much, Brian.
All right.
And will there be a picture afterwards or not?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, we
Okay.
told them.
After the meeting, there'll be a picture. Thank you.
All right, next move on to County Police. Request approval of RSP for 2019 patrol vehicles.
Dean Chandler, 4817 Lincoln Way West in South Bend. I'd like to proceed with getting bids for patrol cars. Looking to get anywhere between 12 and 14 of them. The bid dates will be March 8th. The advertisement dates will be March 8th and March 15th. And Dawn will have the stuff emailed to her when I leave here.
Due on Tuesday, April 2nd.
Yep.
Okay.
Any questions or comments? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve this request for RFPs for the patrol vehicles?
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I just have one quick question. Sorry, I didn't ask it earlier. You're always on top of this, Major. Thank you very much. There's like a deadline you have with the manufacturers, right, on squad patrol vehicles?
There's no deadline this year because the order date is not till July. Because usually I come to you in January. I try to get it going right at the first of the year, but the order date for Ford police vehicles, they're actually going to be 2020s. It's not till July 2nd or something like
So
that.
they extended it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks for staying on top of that.
All right, moving on. Department of Human Resources, request approval of clinic management agreement.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kim Karkowitz, Human Resource Director, 7th floor of this building. I have in front of you contracts to renew with our clinic for our services, along with the lease of the building that they're currently at on Colfax. This has been reviewed and worked with our brokers, R&R Benefits, along with Pete Augustino.
Any questions or comments? Commissioner Thomas.
Isn't this a double request, not only the extension of the building, but the extension of services?
There is part one, which is actually the clinic management of the services that are done. And then the part two is the actual office space in which they're at, which in the service agreement for the services mentions the actual location.
Cool, thank you. And I know from talking to you earlier, basically the cost per employee went from $43 to $46.
Correct,
And that locks us until October 21.
correct.
You know, there's going to be inflation, so $3, it seems more than reasonable for the great work they do. We use the word employee, so, but does that mean employees or each user?
Actually, they charge us by the employee,
Okay.
not by the dependents that are underneath the employee on the
So
insurance
if I had a
coverage.
spouse and 5 kids, they're not charging my spouse and 5 kids.
Correct.
Just me, the employee. And for our users, such as the airport or other entities that we have, other entities that have realized that we have a very sound and good health and cost-effective program, who have joined our program, their rates will go up equally, right? That's
That is
contractually
this-
all set?
That is the same across the board for the county and the interlocals.
Thank you very much. And how many interlocals do we have currently?
We've got five interlocals.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve this, the clinical renew management agreement.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Kim.
you.
Appreciate all your work in hammering these things out and not being afraid to send it back when it didn't meet up with what the county needed, so. All right, next, Department of Infrastructure Planning and Growth. First item is the consent agenda. I will note we have a couple of traffic regulatory requests. No truck regulation on 3rd Street from Cottage Grove Avenue to Basswood Road, and no truck regulation on Cottage Grove Avenue from State Road 933 to 3rd Street. Any questions or comments regarding any of these items? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve that consent agenda?
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, request approval of right-of-way engineering agreement for the bridge number 62 over Yellow Bank Creek on Walnut Road replacement project. Is there anyone here from
Frank Fotier with the Department of Infrastructure, Planning and Growth, offices on the 7th and 11th floor of this building. Jessica Clark, the county engineer, and Chip Porter, the highway engineer, are at Purdue at road school today. So before you is approval of a right-of-way engineering agreement with Lockmuller Group, not to exceed $22,300 to perform right-of-way acquisition services.
Any questions or comments? Commissioner Thomas. Oh, I'm sorry. It's more of a comment then.
Question, Deborah Durrell, 21677 Otten Road, South Bend. I'm just wondering where this is. I did not see a map.
Yellowbank Creek on Walnut Road.
And is it Walnut Road here in South Bend? Or New Carlisle, Olive Township, or
So
Wide
typically
area.
here, we don't take questions from the public related to items. It's more of a comment on something, typically speaking.
I-
But
Do you happen to know?
So the Yellowbank Creek runs just north of Walkerton, and Walnut would be that road right there. So it's down the southern part of the county.
It's out in
Okay,
Lincoln
great.
Township.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Shalley, would you state your name and address and your answer for the record, please?
Absolutely. Bill Shalio, Economic Development Director with offices on the 4th, 7th, and 11th floor with the Department of Infrastructure, Planning and Growth. If it's the Yellowbank Creek in Lincoln Township, which we believe it is, then that's where Yellowbank Creek would be. So,
I would concur with Mr. Shalley. And possible full feature offices on the building across the street, right?
any other questions or comments? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve this engineering agreement for the bridge number 62 over Yellowbank Creek on Walnut Road.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Next item is old business. Seeing none. Public comments. Are there any public comments? Please state your name and address. For the record, you have 3 minutes to address the board.
Deborah Durrell, 21677 Otten Road, South Bend. I'm here to speak about new development in the New Carlisle and South Bend areas. We have several questions about that. One is that we would like you to know that this is not vacant land, and if we can't bring jobs into this area without scrapping the land, then the premise for growth is flawed. Our main question is, what is in it for us? We're being told, not asked, to trade things we care deeply about for progress, yet we feel this is an obvious abstraction. And 9 months since we have had a public meeting giving us specifics. The public is overwhelmingly calling for highly motivated, inspired planning to build on what we have and want to keep, not scrap it. We want to keep our farmland and further enrich it. We want to keep our waterways clean for all, and we want the TIF funds to help do these things. We want tax abatement agreements for companies like the Smilax Road Shredder to enforce succession owner standards and consequences for injuries and pollution, and to eliminate abatements for warehouses with low-quality jobs. We want to maintain and improve the safety of our roads for pedestrians, passenger vehicles, bikes, and the people living along these roads kept safe. Living within our means is already a challenge and becoming more so. We are at a crossroads, challenging even the experts to look beyond what statutes, codes, and regulations typically require, calling on personal ethics, rigorous problem solving, and future scenarios. Whether or not you believe in climate change and human causation, development should now be factoring in the real challenges we face. The Climate Recovery Ordinance is stepping up to this challenge, and other towns will follow. We want a place that is good for people. If development does not involve keeping these quality aspects of life here, then we do not need it. We need your help to meet the economic goals of St. Joseph County with environmentally sound solutions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments?
Dan Caruso, 305 Compton Street, New Carlisle, Indiana. Those who do not read history are doomed to repeat it. Those words have never been truer than in the case of Elwood, Illinois in 2002 and current day New Carlisle, Indiana. Leading up to 2002, decisions were made by local and county leaders in and around Elwood to allow logistics and warehouse industry giant CenterPoint Intermodal to construct many millions of square feet of container storage and product preparation facilities. CenterPoint was granted a 20-year tax abatement in 2002, opened the first of their warehouses, which today stretch as far as the eye can see. These drab, nondescript, box-looking structures now cover what was some of the most fertile farmland in North America. Within 4 years, Elwood became the largest inland port in North America. Containers from overseas were shipped to our ports, loaded onto trains, railed right to the facilities in Elwood, and then trucked to retailers like Meijer, Target, and Walmart. With rail services right to the property and interstate highway access close by, Elwood is within 1 day's travel from 60% of all major U.S. markets. The locals were promised great economic growth within the community and endless retail and small business opportunities directly related to the openings of these warehouses. The thousands employed by these warehouses would be a natural consumer for any enterprising local to flourish as a small business owner. What followed, however, was a long trail of broken promises along with faded hopes and dreams. The truck traffic in particular, has increased exponentially. There is daily gridlock during the 3 shift changes at the warehouses, causing not only angst and frustration for all, but an infrastructure that is now in constant need of repair. Except the shortage of monies due to the developers getting the abatement, Elwood has no funds. The city of Elwood, in trying to meet the needs, took out a $30 million bond and is now in debt with no foreseeable way to repay these obligations. Truckers, most of them independent contractors, on a tight schedule and budget, looking to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible, tires sitting in the traffic, find their way on the weight-restricted roads, causing unanticipated abuse to local roads, bridges, and ramps, along with the safety concerns of using the same roads as our bus services for our children. The promised jobs are almost all temporary 90-day employment, and so far, after 17 years, the only retail growth has been the dollar store in the already existing business district. There has, however, been a boom to one type of business in Elwood, population 2,200. There are 99 temporary employment agencies charged mainly with hiring the temporary workers for the logistics and warehouse business. These temporary workers with no guarantees aren't able to support new home construction in the area, and many commute daily from as far as Indiana. After making the commute, some workers still aren't guaranteed work and are often sent home without any employment for the day. Please read the January 2019 New Republic magazine article by Alexander Salmon on this Elwood issue. Do we want this for St. Joseph County, Indiana? Someone does. Look at the accessibility of the land. Almost 22,000 acres, rails access on site, Interstate 94, 80, 90, and 65 just minutes away. Yes, the great jobs have been promised. The retail growth and business opportunities are assured to any local entrepreneurs. Property values rising, schools flush with money. Does that sound familiar? Is any promise fulfilled or not worth the destruction of one of the most
Your
precious
time is
resources, our
about
fertile
up.
farmland?
If you'd wrap it up, that'd be...
Oh, yeah, I can wrap. Oh, sure, thank you. The most fertile farmland anywhere. Will these new neighbors be good stewards of our natural resources and not contaminate our aquifer from where many of us draw our potable water? Will they be an unsustainable draw on that aquifer, causing wellheads to run dry? Too many questions, very few answers. Let's make the right kind of history. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comments? Mr. Thomas.
Thank you. Mr. Terrell, Mr. Caruso, I share and echo your sentiments on the concern for the environment and the health of the land in New Carlisle area. and that's nothing new. I saw a movie the other day about the Civil War, and people were talking, boy, this war is never going to end. And then someone said, well, there's a little battle going on in near a little town called Gettysburg that's going to probably decide it one way or the other. And we all know that was the Great Battle of Gettysburg. On this issue right now, there's the Pat Bauer land bill down in the state legislature, and that may decide this issue one way or the other. I've heard there's been attempts to amend it to death, to take out the teeth. I hope that doesn't happen. So, time will tell what happens with the Pat Bauer land bill regarding New Carlisle area and what happens with the New Carlisle area. But I certainly share your feelings and concerns. Yeah, what happened in Elwood is tragic. What happened in Des Moines, Iowa is tragic. Thank you for sharing that data to everybody. I know I received it into my commissioner mailbox. I'm sure you guys did too, really soon. Thank you.
Any other public comments?
I believe we're wrapping up we're getting ready to start our commissioner certificate deck sale. So, I mean, there's still some good properties on there for people that would like to buy like a vacant field next to their home for meager amount, usually $25. And then there's some small legal fees and work they need to do, but stabilize your neighborhood, make your own neighborhood nicer, and let's get these properties back on the tax rolls.
Any other public comments? Hearing none, a motion to recess is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Tough luck. We are recessed. Let's get a picture.